Good evening again. Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I want to bring up a subject that I've covered before in my videos, but it is more relevant now than when I covered it originally. That is a historical event, historical person, King Henry VIII. And I have done a bit of research into King Henry VIII. I read a very well written book about him and his time. It was fiction, but based on historical events, and it was very well written, and I believe that most of it was accurate. The interplay between the characters was, of course, imagined, but the events themselves were very historical, and there's something to be taken from the story of King Henry VIII. Very quickly, in a nutshell, his dad was also a king. At the time, they being the aristocracy, the ruling monarchs, were very interested in preserving their bloodlines. They didn't have a great big understanding of inbreeding and the consequences, unfortunately, because King Henry VIII was the recipient of some pretty serious inbreeding. And turns out his dad, if you're familiar with history, was unpopular because he was showing signs of dementia and insanity and paranoia, and he was acting erratically as far as in the context of how a king is expected to behave, and the people were upset with it. They saw King Henry VIII, his King Henry VII's son, as a very welcome replacement. Actually, originally when he came around, they hailed him. He was very popular at first. And then he started showing the same signs, but actually quite a bit worse, and things spiraled very far out of control. I want to just cover a few things here, and there's one that is extremely important and contemporary to our time period, what's happening right now with our government and the ICE activity, the raids, and the protests that are going on currently. So King Henry VIII was kind of going a little loopy at one point, and he started harassing the people. He started executing people unnecessarily, and at one point, long story short, the people rebelled completely. They organized against him in an attempt to overthrow his chair of power, and they made the mistake of stopping just short of actually doing it. So that is to say, they committed and failed to follow through. They were distracted right before they completed their mission by an entreaty and an apology by the king and his people, his staff. He said, look, okay, look, I understand. I get it. I get that you're upset and that the way we've been handling things is not right. It's not fair. And here, I tell you what, I will pardon everybody who's on my list. All the people who were going to be in trouble have full immunity. And he rolled out this big document, and everybody signed it. They were all super happy to get on board, and they were relieved. They said, okay, finally, we've proved our point. We spoke our piece, and he has agreed to be reasonable, and we're going to just move forward in good faith and hope that things work out. So if you're familiar with what happens next, here's the point that's relevant. King Henry VIII took this brief opportunity to organize a violent and unprecedented, historically unprecedented, just massacre of his people. He just started just beheading everybody. He just rounded up all the priests, all the monks. He sent his armies into the cities and into the towns and just started killing everybody. He, under his direct order, this was going on. He used the opportunity to bargain to keep his chair just so that he could, what he believed was, put down a rebellion that was undeserved, that threatened his power and his life, which it probably did, in honesty. And this is the same king who cut off his wife's head, by the way. If you're familiar, it's a sad story. It's a very sad story. And Anne Boleyn, and there were a lot of very sad connections with this event. And while it's historically entertaining, I don't think anybody wishes to repeat this part of history. So here's my point. At just before 5 minutes, I am hearing stories right now about city leaders deciding and asserting their authority locally against ICE raids. They are saying, and it's in the news, you can check this yourself online, they will not stand for any ICE activity in their precincts, in their jurisdictions, in their cities. And they say if ICE comes here, we're going to arrest them. And I'm seeing this right now. So, okay, that's probably a good move considering the things that are going on. But I'm concerned that it will be responded to in much the same way that King Henry VIII responded to his people rebelling. That is a withdrawal, a stalling tactic, an entreaty for appeal, and then a violent and total reversal and betrayal of the people, because that is what happens. Right now, the American authorities, the American government, the federal government is they just invaded Venezuela. Based on what I saw online, they are deploying massive ICE raids for a number of reasons, which I've actually covered in a different video. And it looks like they're desperate, grasping at straws, and you do not want to negotiate with anyone who's desperate. It's the wrong time in the best of cases. And when that party is a government, you absolutely do not want to make a deal with somebody under those circumstances. It's a commit and follow through for sure. Do not lightly enter into statements or conditions or promises that you're not willing to back up 100%, and do not reverse, because you know what will happen from history. Look it up, read the book. There are tons of books actually about the same story. It's a very interesting story, and this unfortunately repeats throughout history. The history repeats itself when people forget, when a crazy or corrupt monarch or leader of any kind, an administrator or an administration, decides that the people are their enemy. It can only end one way, unless and until they are completely removed. So at which point you cross that bridge, do not look back. My advice, don't say those words lightly. Do not pull your gun out unless you're willing to use it. And don't you turn back, because it will only go one way. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.